commercial interest.
Thank you. Let's now turn our attention to our second topic of the morning, and this is in relation to governors who appeared before the Senate Finance Committee chaired by Mandera County Senator Ali Roba and expressed concerns about the cash-starved situation of the devolved units across the 47 counties. The governors, Anne Waiguru, Kirinyaga County, Cecily Mbarire, is the chairperson of the UDA representing Embu County, as well as Mutahi Kahiga of Nyeri, among the other governors, said there is need to speed up the release of cash by the exchequer in order to deliver services for Kenyans across the 47 counties, and a concern that they said in the next 5 years, if not well attended to, will be devastating. And a similar statement made by the chairperson of the Council of Governors, Anne Waiguru, during the Naivasha retreat by the cabinet and members of the National Assembly and the Senate of the Kenya Kwanza coalition, who said that there's need for a focus on how the cash can be first released to the counties. Coming to you, Honorable Nelson Koech, it's concerning, is it, that the counties are cash-starved?
Let me just say that for the first time, this administration is extremely predictable in how it releases money to the county. It's been extremely timely, and save for minimal cash flow into the counties. But even before I go there, let me tell you, Ayub, every lazy governor will want to use, and I'm sure Senator will address it because he even has a better view as a person oversighting the counties. But let me tell you, every lazy governor who does not want to perform will always use the excuse of disbursement of resources to the counties not to perform.
Absolutely.
Look at what is happening in Homa Bay. You know, Gladys Wanga has gone in and I watched her clip the other day when he was on this station. And she said that from the revenue, on-source revenues, that when she got in, it was around 200 to 300 million. She has pulled it up to 700 million on half-year revenue assessment. So she is projecting that this year, by the end of the financial year, they will be at more than 1 billion on-source revenue. Other counties do not want to bother. We must start asking ourselves the questions, the hard questions of what you've received first, what have you done with it, instead of complaining. It is easy to always accuse the national government of not sending money, but it should also be upon them to say how have they used what they've received. Look, for instance, in Kirinyaga. Kirinyaga, Honorable Anne Waiguru, did build a referral hospital to its completion. I can tell you, and I'm sure many of us live in this country, you can see the projects that are being done by CDF, but you can hardly see the projects that are being done by the county government. Tell me one, even where you come from, tell me one functional dispensary that you can go walk in today and get medicine. There is none, absolutely none. So it should be upon the people of this country also to start questioning the money that is being allocated to governors. Look at the roads, infrastructure that are supposed to be done by county government. Many of them are dilapidated. You know, some of them are just done so quickly. No, your maram is just laid, and there is no roller, nothing. So let us, first of all, ask the governors to account for what they've received. I've seen so many first-time governors that are doing exceptionally well. Look at Muranga, what is happening in Muranga. Are you telling me that what Muranga is receiving and what these other counties are receiving are totally different? The disbursement comes at the same time. It is how you decide to prioritize what you're doing and closing the gaps of where we lose a lot of revenue.
The question is then, yes, accountability, because this money is the hard-earned cash of Kenyans who
absolutely
pay their fair share of taxes. But does this money also come on time? That is one of the major points that the governors had expressed grievances.
We live in this. We've had challenges. And that's what I'm saying. Minimal cash flow has been an issue. We've had challenges with, first of all, trying to sort out so many other issues. And I'm so proud of this administration that for naysayers had projected that we were not going to pay the Eurobond. We are now sorted. We paid 1.5 billion. The other ones have been staggered up to the next one, I think, is 2029, that we are going to pay $500 billion. It is sorted. You can see the inflation is coming. We are now under 10% of inflation as a country. We are at 7%. In fact, when I was here in our last show, I was still with Senator Ledamo Lekina, and he was painting a grim face of what is happening in the health of our economic health. But I can tell you today that we are happy because now that is sorted. So slowly then, it means that the government will start focusing on releasing funds to the counties timely. We had an issue that we had to sort out the other day. It is sorted. We are perfectly okay. Food inflation has come down. Economic inflation is coming down. All the indicators are pointing towards growth of our economy. There is no reason then why there should not be timely disbursement to the counties.
Okay.
But even as we do that, like I said, governors must be held accountable. My friend here has been a good champion of making governors accountable. There's a lot of wastage. He even talked about travels. Honestly, even as an assembly, you look at the National Assembly, we've cut down on our expenditure on travels so that we do not have to unnecessarily travel unless there is something that you want to go. We do not want to see our MCAs going to Zambia to benchmark on how to fight corruption, or I don't know which other country. Let us be people who use the resources that are allocated to us prudently. Show first how you've used what you've received before demanding for more. Finally, this administration has had consultation with governors. You saw in Naivasha, Honorable Gladys Wanga, and most of the governors were in attendance for that summit between the executive and parliament and the county government, heads of county governments, who are the governors, were in attendance, so that they also can express their issues to the head of the state. There are many other issues that are being done. There's consultation between the governors, constant consultation between our governors and the deputy president, and I've seen that happening, and I think that will be the thing of the past shortly, since we've settled most of our debts.
Briefly, Honorable Kwenchal, still on you. You talked about the Eurobond buyback, that is the 1.5 billion issued. This is over a period of 7 years till 2031, unlike the other one, 2014. But the challenge is that it's issued at 10.375% interest, which will pay off an earlier Eurobond, which was issued at 6.3%.
You know, Ayub, you speak like one of those people who, when someone is sick and they recover, you say they recover, but they are still coughing. There's always something to introduce. I'm sure, in fact, I was almost certain that someone was going to go to court to say, can we stop the drop of the dollar to the Kenya shilling? Because Kenyans have become such critics to everything that is happening that is positive. For once, let us say this government has honored the promise and paid the debt, removed us from a risk of being insolvent as a country. That is positive. Whatever percentage that was used at that point compared to what was used last time, I think for me, that is a non-issue. It ought to be a substantive issue was the fiscal indiscipline that we inherited, and now we have had to pay for it. That restructuring of our economic policies by the head of state has bore fruits. That is why today you can actually even talk of why did we do this and not this. But all I can say is that we're perfectly okay. We're out of danger. The country is now on its feet to economic growth.
Well, there can never be a willy-nilly dismissal of that interest rate aspect, because it's very key in the repayment of this Eurobond by 2031. And talking about, it's a 7-year period. And talking about the fiscal indiscipline of the previous administration. I mean, you are a Jubilee Party member.
Absolutely.
More than 80% of the current government officials were also part of the Jubilee Party. Still, even whilst in government, you can never run away from the responsibility, is it, as leaders, of the mess that leaders often dip this country into, and then in another political cloth, blame the previous or the past administrations for the present-day problems. I mean, how would you address such dichotomy between the mess by the Jubilee government in terms of borrowing, lack of, obeying court orders, adherence to the principles of good governance and constitutionalism, and then you, Nelson Koech, today Belgut MP in UDA colour, saying that this is as a result of past fiscal indiscipline by the previous administration?
We have restructured our fiscal discipline. We have restructured our borrowing to make sure that we limit how much you can borrow. If you look at this, we are now handling the BPS for 2024, 2025. We're going to reduce our borrowing from trillions. We want to up to about 740 billion Kenya shillings is what we project to borrow going forward, so that we start borrowing from locally without necessarily having to go to international lenders. Number two, we are trying to expand our tax base. to make sure that everyone who has not been paying tax is able to pay tax. We are not saying we're going to increase taxes. We are saying let us expand the tax base so that everyone is able to pay tax. We have to finance our budget as a country. You know, I've seen even on Christmas, I saw many people flying out to South Africa and many other countries. There is no country that is comfortable that is not being taxed. I saw even yesterday, I've seen many people making complaints, including my friend Senator, about introduction of PPPs on our roads. There is no way. I was in South Africa a few days ago. PPPs, not you. PPPs is the way to go if we have to invest on huge infrastructure projects. All the way from Mombasa to Malaba border. It has to be done on a PPP model. That removes the burden from these expensive loans that we are borrowing. Do you know that shortly before the end of 5 years of this administration, that the entire Chinese loan will be sorted?
Thank you. Yes, Ohenjo and Senator. Senator first, Ohenjo, I'll come to you.
Let me put it this way. First of all, I am a firm believer of the fiduciary responsibility of an individual, or the fiduciary duty. When you talk about governors crying that the money is being delayed, this is for the very first time, is the time that I'm going to agree with my brother here, that I think it's about time that when we are now talking about amending the Constitution, we amend Article 219 of the Constitution.
To achieve what? Which
demands that a share of county revenue shall be transferred without undue delay or any deduction. I think it's about time that we amend that article to ensure that we stop this nonsense. If you look at the following counties, my county of Narok has only paid pending bills 26%. The county of Nairobi has only paid 9%. Kajiado County has only paid 30%. Kiambu, 4%. We are killing businesses. We are talking about problems in this country, yet we are not ensuring that we maintain that legal obligation, the fiduciary duty, for you to be able to pay. We are not doing it. So that is the issue number one. So when a county governor comes in, and I've seen Waiguru comes in to complain that Kirinyaga is at what? She's only paid 54% of her pending bills. So why are you complaining? The money you are sent, you're not using to pay your bills. You know, what are you doing it? You are diverting that money, which is exactly what these county governors are doing. For me, I can tell you, I'll be very happy to sit with a county governor from Murang'a, you know, Kangata. He has paid off his entire bill. Nyeri, he's paid off his entire pending bills. If you go to Bigori, you know, they paid a huge, Siaya County, they paid a huge, you know, even West Pokot, they paid. And of course, Ali Roba, when he left Mandera, he had made sure that he had paid off his money. Even Wasingishu County, you know, credit goes to the former governor. He had paid off most of his pending bills. So the issue is this. We've got two articles in the Constitution that, you know, speak clearly. In fact, one clearly speaks about the fiduciary duty or the legal obligation of the county executive. Article 179 of the Constitution is quite clear. It says the executive authority of a county is vested and exercised by the executive committee. So when you talk about money being delayed, money is not being delayed. Money is being sent, you get the money, you divert it. Why do we have these pending bills? We have pending bills because you now, instead of paying for a project in the year that you've budgeted for, you now stagger it to 3-4 years. This is why I'm a firm believer that the current Auditor General has got to move away from the style of audit that they carry out. They need to do budget audits, a performance budget audit. Narok County had a budget of about 15 billion. That budget of 15 billion, let's audit that budget. That budget, how much was funded in that budget? What was paid? This nonsense of auditing financial statements will continue overburdening our people, and people will continue crying and saying, we are not getting money. Why should I release money? Why should the controller of budget release money to county governments? Yet when that money goes to the county government, it is diverted to pay. Instead of paying my brother from Semirite, it is paying, you know, hypothetically, it is paying my brother from Belgut for something that he has not done. Why? Why? Right. This is a discussion. Let me tell you something. Okay. This is a discussion that now that we have this NADCA report, we are now going to say, let us amend Article 219. Of the Constitution. Number two, let us amend Article 179 in line with the PFM Act to ensure that these individuals take personal responsibility. You know, county governments don't care. The executive and the county governments do not care. They don't give a hoot in hell. Why? Because when you sue them, it is not their pocket that will defend them. You know, I'll sue my county governor. I will go into my pocket and pay the legal fees. For the county government, they'll go back to their county coffers and use that money to defend the county. We now need to change that. We talked about the issue of, this issue of debt that my brother talked about here. There, I completely disagree with you. You know, it is good for the country when a country borrows internationally rather than borrowing locally. If a government borrows locally, all financial institutions will lend to the government. And what will happen to businesses? If you have a small chicken selling business, it will collapse. No one will give you money because the government money is a little bit guaranteed. Okay. So, and also where you are wrong is where you're saying the loans are being gotten at around 10%. It's actually, the maximum is about 6%. No, 10%. 6% is Eurobond 2014. You know, I don't believe there's any government that is sane enough to be able to borrow the figures you're giving. I saw a rebuttal from Treasury where the current my friend Njuguna Ndongo rebutted that, and he said the most expensive loan that they have borrowed is 6%. Let's give credit where credit is due, and let's challenge where this administration is going wrong. Where this administration is going wrong is on the issue of the wananchi completely. You know, where the county governments are going wrong is that most governors are busy lining their pockets. I can tell you that as a fact. They are busy lining their pocket. When you look at the financial year 2022-2023, all those projects, one, will become stalled, they'll collapse, they will not fail. And our institutions, anti-corruption, when you talk about the Senate, we are all complicit. Let's be honest. Because when the governors come there, we laugh, we smile with them. But guess what? They are failing Kenyans. And I think the time that we will now put this country ahead of us, ahead of our own personal interest, is a time when if a governor, Muranga governor, my friend Kangata, comes into the Senate and say, I have a problem with the exchequer releases, I'll be the first one, my friend, to go to the Controller of Budget and Treasury and say, release money to Muranga. Because they're paying their bills. Point taken. The 1.5 billion, Senator Olekina, is over a period of 7 years, 2024-31. The last in 2014 to 2024, due for payment in under 4 months' time, was 10 years, issued at 6.3%, and the latest 10.375%. I'm yet to see anywhere that says 10.3. I think it would be insane for any government to go and borrow money at 10.5%. Well, that is in dollars. That is in euros. That is completely ludicrous. That was the question, because it is absolutely wrong. In 2021, we got ready for another Eurobond, and now Kuriatani at 8%. The government rejected flatly. 10 is higher. Let me tell you, if this government has borrowed at 10%, they should be taken to Madare. There is no way you can borrow at 10%. How? In dollars. 10.375%. On a factual note, just to correct you. Yes, Ohenjo. I mean, Ohenjo, to just point this out, this text is from Governor Kimani Wamatangi, Kiambu County, watching the broadcast. He said the headline should be taken, instead of devolution, that is, on the broadcast, should be taken in the context of inherited pending bills. For example, my county, Kiambu County, inherited 7 billion Kenya shillings, and we paid down to 5.8 billion Kenya shillings, more than most other counties, but the figures are huge. To be fair to them, then, what about the question of inheriting? Okay, settle it.
I think I'll start this conversation from the whole question, and I want to pick from Senator Oledama, the whole question of accountability, and Honorable, the whole question of accountability and transparency. Counties were a creation of devolution, and one of the objectives was to devolve decision-making, to devolve governance system so that things do not happen at the center. And for those who are in the constitution-making process, the thrust or the drive towards this was a feeling that some Kenyans were actually being excluded from decision-making. The idea of then taking resources to the counties was to make sure that Kenyans in those counties, and especially from marginalized communities, were able to partake of governance. The question is this happening? And that is where this whole challenge of accountability comes in. When you're talking about inherited bills or inherited debts, you're talking about public participation. At what point? Some of the people in these counties are not even aware that those debts exist in the first instance. At what point do we involve our citizens in this conversation? At what point do we make sure that these projects that Senator is talking about, taking money from this coffer and not paying A but paying B, at what point do we ensure that the projects add value to people's lives? And that is why I think the whole question, as it says, of audit should be changed so that we're looking at the cost impact analysis and not just the question of financial statements. There's this invoice A and invoice B. What is that money meant for in the first instance? So governors could cry, and as it's been pointed out, there are some county governments that have done pretty well, even using locally resourced money.
Yeah.
The counties that have done pretty well. Counties like, I think, Kakamega also did very, very well before, during the Oparanyas time. Now, the whole question of money flowing in and money not flowing in boils down to the question of, do we even see what that money is doing in the first instance? I think that is the question that these governors should be answering when they're saying that they're not able to run their programs. What are these programs that they want to run? They should be able to, highlight them for Kenyans to see, yes, if this money doesn't come, then this program is going to stall. Most of these counties have unfunctioning health facilities. Most of these counties have unfunctioning public service delivery units, but money is being channeled. And every other time, whether that money is enough or not, what is the impact to the Kenyan citizen? So what we're looking at it, I don't know if the question of amending the constitution might be critical, but the most important thing, as it's being pointed out, is that we also need to reshape our thinking in county governments and bring them back to the objectives of devolution, Article 174. Do these governors, have they internalized the objectives of devolution under Article 174 in the sense that they're able to design programs and be able to provide value for money that has been already allocated to them? If I went to the county government today, any county government, I told them, okay, I need to get your report, analysis of what you've done in the past 1 year regarding you implementing provisions of Article 174. Would they be able to give it to me? Or is it, as it's being put here, lining pockets? We have issues with with a certain county here where appointments have actually, there's an outcry.
Family.
Family, girlfriends, wives. It's actually pathetic. And the people that the Constitution was supposed to protect, the minorities and marginalized communities, under Article 56, which brought in devolution, are not being protected. They're actually, diving deeper into poverty.
Thank you. Let's now sample the feedback here on the broadcast. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Engineer Lazaro says it does not make sense to prioritize houses in urban centers while some Kenyans in poor rural interiors killing each other for scarce resources, i.e. water and pastures. Otherwise, Raila unique political mantric always confuses friends and foes alike. _Musau says, can Honda Bokoech explain how someone will own a house that is built on public land? What if the next government has different ideas on the use of that very same land? Remy Bhutia says, turning the economy around and reducing poverty first requires strategic investment in sectors delivering the most development dividends. Kenya is headed in the right direction. Erel Wama says, I agree with President Ruto that affordable housing will transform, but he should let the county governments implement the affordable housing program. It worked in the United Kingdom and most developed countries because councils and boroughs implement and run housing projects. Anonymous says we should change the law so that governors are transferred from one county to another, like county commissioners, so that they are held accountable to Kenyans.
Very good.
I
like that one.
Many just traveling, enjoying life and blaming releases. Yes, Honorable Coach, starting with you, 30 seconds each.
Yeah, thank you very much. You can see there's a lot of positive. I like the first comment that, county government should be allowed. Like I said before, it is being aligned in the new amended bill so that also county governments and national government work together towards delivering this program. It's a robust program. It's a program that we need to support, and we make sure that there is prudency of resources. Also, I must laud the government for making sure that they restructure our loans. And now that, again, we have a healthy economy, we must now refocus our energies on exactly what we need to deliver for our people and develop this nation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayub. I think just like the Member of Parliament says, it's a laudable effort. Housing is a big issue that we all are facing in this country. I think my whole remark could be that let's do it in a way, let us, and Mheshimiwa, let us find a way of mainstreaming affirmative action in a way that those who actually need this housing are the ones who get the houses. Okay. I think that is a challenge that we have. We might also need to rethink the strategy so that we do not overburden Kenyans. Yes, we need the housing, we need the projects, but we do not want to have those projects in a space where you have a population that is feeling really overburdened. Okay. And what might end up is that we might actually push so many of our people into mental issues.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Lekina.
Professor Kithuri Kindike, my friend, this country is bleeding because of insecurity. Our brothers Ilchamus in Baringo just lost their families members. Our brothers in Samburu lost their family members. Our brothers in Transmara lost their family members. Please get out of Arambe House and go and ensure that peace prevails in these 3 counties. Number 2, the issue of affordable housing. President Ruto, leave this matter to county governments. Let county governments handle the matter. Let us build homes for people. And lastly, on the issue of county governments, governors pay pending bills. You have no business arguing that money is being delayed, yet when money is brought to you, you are the first one to be able to now divert the money. I applaud and I commend and I give a lot of accolades to former senators who have gone in to be governors. Governor of Makueni, he has done a tremendous job in terms of paying bills. Governor of Siaya has done a tremendous job in paying bills. Governor of Muranga has done a fantastic job in paying their bills. I hope that the rest can be able to follow in your footsteps and ensure that this country is free of debt. Businesses are crying. There's no point of crying that money is not being sent to counties, yet you're killing businesses that have already supplied services to your people.
Thank you. Nyangori Ohenjo is the Chief Executive Officer. Sam Wright, good morning and thank you for your time. Nelson Koech is the lawmaker representing Belgut constituency as well as the Chair of Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee of the National Assembly. And Ledama Olekina is the Minority Whip at the Senate and represents Narok County. At the House, that is the guardrail of the devolved system of governance. Gentlemen, your time is all appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Guardrail.
Yes.
And thanks to you for waking up with us with the broadcast here. We thank you for your feedback and we cherish your contributions as well and the company you accorded us from 6 to now 8 a.m. Up next is Sporty Monday with Isaac Swillers, Zita Jimoy and Steve Chitera's Blues on this Monday Blue and the Devolution which happened in Wembley in London yesterday evening. We'll see you tomorrow morning here on the broadcast at the same time. Till then, good morning.